Hi everybody, welcome to this new video for the Gen AI Nerd channel. And in this video I want to explain how you can build very easily sophisticated dashboards using Cursor together with MCP servers. And this might be a lot of kind of concepts, but I will try to explain it step by step. So first what I will try to do is to show you kind of the infrastructure that I'm using. So how I'm using Cursor with MCP servers. And then again, will give you a specific example how I use that infrastructure to easily build sophisticated dashboards, in my case to illustrate the fintech ecosystem that we have at WHU Otto Beisheim School of Management. So let me start by showing my basic infrastructure. So here you can see my Cursor environment. So Cursor is one of these new kind of coding environments where you can easily do coding, because actually you can get support by an agent. So here in the right hand side you see a chat window where I can chat with an agent that actually uses Claude 4 Sonnet to help me in the coding. And this is already very helpful, but nowadays you can kind of boost these coding agents by giving these agents what is called MCP servers. And I will not go now into the technical details, but MCP servers are kind of specific functionalities that you can give to the agent so that it can get easy access to files or to other tools or to emails. So there are all kinds of MCP servers available today. And let me briefly show you the MCP servers that I have. And I can do that by go to my settings. And then I go to tools and integrations. And here you can see that at the moment I have 3 MCP servers. So the first one is the file system MCP server. And this is an MCP server that allows the agent to go into specific files, into specific folders. The second one is the Sequential Thinking MCP server. And this is an MCP server that will push the agent to always do what we call chain of thoughts thinking when it is executing a task. So when I give now my agent a task, it will try to decompose that task into different steps, and that tend to drastically improve the output. And finally, I use what is called the Context 7 MCP server. And this is actually an MCP server that allows the agent to access documentation about a lot of libraries. So it can actually go into the documentation, for instance, of OpenAI or Claude or whatever library you want to use, like LangChain or something like that. And then that can really help to improve the quality of the output that the agent can provide. So these are my 3 MCP servers. How does that actually look like? So here I can now click on Edit. Yeah, so here you can see at the moment my JSON file where I have formulated my MCP servers. So this is the information that you need to provide to enable these MCP servers. And this is typically information that you can find on the GitHub page of these MCP servers. So let me briefly show you how you can get this kind of information. So now I'm just in Google, and so now I can search for MCP server like Sequential Thinking. And let's do GitHub. And then we immediately can click here on the GitHub page. And then if we go down, typically you will quickly find the formulation here. Yeah? So, and there are different types. So I use this NPX formulation. And then I just need to copy paste this, put it into this file. And you can see here that's what I did. And then that way I can start using this MCP server. So you need to do some technical stuff, but it's not extremely complicated. And in that way you can formulate all the MCP servers that you want. So at the moment I have 3 MCP servers that I use in my Cursor. Yeah, so this is actually kind of the infrastructure that I need to start building dashboards in Cursor quite automatically. So now let me show you an example of how we can do this. Yeah, so this is now a folder that I opened called Fintech Analysis. And this is a folder where I allowed my file system MCP server to access. That means based on this MCP server, the agent can read that document, but even can make changes in the document. Of course, here you have to be a bit careful. And so I have given the agent via the MCP server only access to one particular folder, because of course I don't want the agent randomly start making changes in files on my computer. So I have only formulated in my MCP server one particular folder where it can make changes, and that's where I stored my Excel sheet. And so this is an Excel sheet where I have a lot of information about companies in the WHO ecosystem that belong to the fintech industry. So let me briefly show you that Excel sheet. So this is how the Excel sheet looks like. So we have, of course, the names of the companies, founders of the companies, but we have a lot of information like their location, how much funding they raised, even description of the company. So you see, it's quite an extensive Excel sheet that kind of provides in-depth information about companies in our ecosystem. And so what I want to do now is actually to use Streamlit. And Streamlit is a kind of application where you can build dashboards by means of coding. So I want to build a Streamlit dashboard that provides an overview of this ecosystem and that allows users to interact with the dashboard. So that's what I want to build. And so how can I now start building? So now I can go to my chat and actually like prompt the agent to start building this application. So let me show you how you can do that. So now I can say, please create for me a user-friendly and interactive dashboard in Streamlit that allows users to get an in-depth understanding of the fintech ecosystem of WHO. The Excel file fintech data provides all the necessary information for the dashboard. Please make sure to report in the dashboard on aspects such as funding, geographic location, and founding year. Yeah, so this could be kind of a first prompt where I push the agent to start creating a dashboard. So now I can simply press send. And now you will see that actually this agent will start trying to build my dashboard. And you see already it's now creating a kind of to-do list of what it needs to do in order to do so. And then it will go kind of step by step, go to the different aspects and start coding files to make it happen. Yeah, you see it's now already starting coding the first Python file, and actually now it's creating a Python file to examine the data. Yeah, so I've given it access to the Excel file, so it can really go into the Excel file and examine the data, and then step by step it can start building my application. So at the moment I'm just doing nothing. You see it's still generating. It's now at 1 of 8 to do, so this will take some time, but let's first now give the agent time to build everything, and then I will show you the result that has been produced. Okay, so now the agent has finished working, so let us take a look at what the agent has done, and that we can see here on the right hand side in the chat. So what the agent did was first of all to create a Python file called examine data. And so this was kind of coding to understand really the structure of my Excel file. Then actually it executed that file, and there it actually first asked me for approval. So every time when it wants to run a file, make changes, it asks for approval, because that's kind of a safety setting that I enabled. And then so it was able to read the file, and then based on reading the file, it created a new Python file to create the actual dashboard. And on top of that, it created a separate requirements file. That's the file where you have to stipulate all the libraries that you want to use. That's always important. And finally, we also had here a README file created for me. So that's actually a file that provides an overview of the features of the dashboard and so on. So you can actually see all these files were simply added to my folder automatically. And now, of course, we have kind of the magical moment where we have to test whether the dashboard is working. So let me open up a new terminal. So now I can just run the file by adding the command streamlit run fintech dashboards.py. And now if everything went well, we should get a first dashboard in a Streamlit application. At the moment, it will simply run locally. So if I want, I will need to deploy it online, but let's see. So now I have this local host where it will run. So let us take a look what is produced here by the coding. Yes, so now we can see the dashboard that has been created, and at first sight it looks already very nice. I don't immediately see error messages being produced, and that's simply that you're a bit lucky. If you're unlucky, error messages can happen, and then you need to chat more with the agent to solve these error messages. But in this case, it seems that I already have a very nice dashboard, yeah, so with a kind of overview of some core numbers, some core statistics. Then we can go deeper into the funding. Here you even have some filtering options, but maybe let them briefly out now. So then I can see what have been the top 10 funded companies in our ecosystem, and these numbers seem to make a lot of sense. I have a funding distribution overview. I can look at geographical dispersion. So here I can see, or now it's briefly running again. Yeah, so then I have the top countries. Not surprisingly, most of them are in Germany. Here it also creates kind of a map for me, which is also interesting. I can have here even have a data explorer where I suppose users can then explore the data in more depth. So let's take a look. It's now briefly running again. So let us take a look what is produced. Yes, so then you can see indeed that we have kind of an overview of the companies with some information about them. So I hope you see that in this case, actually, I think even from the first shot, the dashboard is already quite nice. Now, in my experience, that's not always the case. And if you need further improvement, or if you want to change things, of course, if you have sufficient coding experience, you can go into the coding yourself and start making changes. But another option is to simply then continue the chat, say, look, here is an error message, can you solve it? Or I would like to improve this. And then the chat will simply update the files to make that happen. But I hope this actually shows you how you can make dashboards very easily nowadays in Cursor using these MCP servers. I think this is a great alternative for instance, Power BI, which is always much more time consuming. And actually, I think if you really go deep in it, also with this approach, you can really make very complicated dashboards, and that can be hard-coded. So I hope this can be helpful, that it's inspiring. Please experiment yourself. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for your attention. Bye.